Our brains are storytellers, constantly writing narratives based on what we feed them. When intrusive thoughts barge in uninvited, they often cling to the loudest emotions, the most vivid memories, or the deepest worries. But rather than wrestling with these mental intruders directly, one of the most effective strategies is to reroute your mental traffic, turn your attention towards something unusual, captivating, and emotionally neutral. That's where the brilliance of the purple flamingo metaphor kicks in. Imagine you're overwhelmed by a troubling thought, maybe a mistake from years ago, or an irrational fear, and then picture a flamboyant flamingo strutting through a library with sunglasses on. That mental image, absurd and delightful, is a cognitive disruptor. It hijacks the brain's negative loop and flips the channel to something refreshingly odd and entertaining. This strategy isn't just about distraction, it's about engaging your creative mind in a way that stimulates curiosity and joy. You're not escaping reality, you're reshaping it in your favor. To amplify this, curate a mental toolbox filled with personal thought triggers, fascinating questions like, what would happen if gravity doubled overnight? Or how does bioluminescence really work in deep-sea creatures? These aren't just trivia tidbits. They're launch pads into expansive, positive thinking. The mind, when offered an enticing mystery, naturally leans in. It seeks answers, follows threads, and before long, you're knee-deep in discovery, not dread. Each question is like a lighthouse guiding you out of stormy seas. For even more power, pair this technique with deliberate calming habits. Many believe a strong emotional reaction can obliterate bad thoughts, but in truth, stress acts like fertilizer to intrusive weeds. The more you react shouting, arguing, leaping into chaos, the more room those thoughts find to grow. Neuroscience tells us that anxious states weaken executive function, leaving us prone to obsessive loops and poor decision-making. Calm, then, isn't a luxury, it's a shield. Meditation, slow walks, soothing music, or simply lying on the floor and watching ceiling patterns, these seemingly simple actions restore mental energy and stabilize emotional waves. Embrace the unexpected irony here. Resisting obsessive thoughts by force strengthens them. They thrive on struggle. But silence, softness, and peaceful redirection gradually strip them of their fuel. It's like turning off the spotlight. Bad thoughts may still loiter at the edge of your mind, but without attention, they lose their power to perform. The goal isn't to exile them entirely, it's to dethrone them, replacing their dominance with wonder, creativity, and peace. In doing so, you transform your mind from a battlefield into a canvas. Imagine if your brain were a chatty colleague who kept barging into your workspace uninvited, dropping unwelcome gossip and paranoia just when you're trying to concentrate. Now imagine telling that colleague, let's chat at noon, okay? And shockingly, they respect that. That's the brilliance of delayed engagement with intrusive thoughts. Instead of trying to banish them on the spot, which often backfires, you give them an official time slot. It's not avoidance. It's structured confrontation, a smart psychological trick that helps you regain control over your mental landscape. Research into cognitive behavioral strategies often recommends this technique as a way of reasserting boundaries between your conscious self and disruptive thought loops. You're essentially training your mind to respect its own calendar setting, an emotional boundary that says, you don't get to hijack my life whenever you want. Here's how it works in the real world. You're hit by a sudden wave of negative thinking, maybe self-doubt, or a long-lost worry resurfaces, and instead of spiraling, you tell yourself, I'll think about this at lunchtime. You set a timer or mentally earmark a 30-minute window later in the day, preferably somewhere neutral, like a coffee break or quiet walk, not when you're vulnerable, like bedtime or during stressful work moments. This technique does something remarkable. It shifts your relationship with the thought. By postponing it, you rob it of urgency. It's no longer a demanding emergency. It becomes a scheduled task. And often, when that time arrives, the thought has either weakened or reshaped itself into something more manageable. What you're doing here is reconfiguring your brain's reward system. Instead of rewarding obsessive loops with attention, you condition yourself to reward discipline and clarity. Over time, this habit can revolutionize your inner dialogue. Your subconscious starts to learn that it doesn't have full reign, it must wait its turn. Like unruly kids at story time, your thoughts begin to cue instead of storming the stage. People who use this approach frequently report feeling more confident, less overwhelmed, and more emotionally prepared to address complex feelings when they do arise. And here's the key, it's not about ignoring your problems. It's about creating space between you and them so you can see them clearly. In that space lies perspective, and with perspective comes wisdom. Some even journal during their thinking time, discovering that these postponed thoughts lose their sting once they're seen in black and white. Others meditate or breathe deeply during the window, allowing their mind to process without judgment. What began as a dreaded ritual becomes a meaningful moment of reflection, turning mental clutter into conscious insight. But perhaps the most surprising effect of scheduled thinking is its influence on your overall mood throughout the day. Knowing there's a place and time to deal with uncomfortable ideas frees your mind to enjoy the present. It stops that nagging sense of unfinished business and replaces it with assurance. You've got this handled, just not right now. Like assigning a file to tomorrow's to-do list, you declutter your brain and restore your emotional bandwidth. Ultimately, the goal isn't to indulge the bad thoughts during their scheduled slot. It's to train yourself that they don't define your life, and they can wait their turn just like everything else. The human mind is an opportunist. It fills whatever space you give it. Leave your thoughts unchecked, and negativity will expand like gas in a vacuum, seeping into every corner of your mental architecture. That's why having clear goals and meaningful pursuits isn't just motivational fluff. It's essential psychological armor against intrusive thinking. When we lack direction, we become more susceptible to unproductive thoughts because there's no dominant narrative pulling us forward. But when you have a personal mission, whether it's mastering a craft, building something meaningful, or even just completing a long-forgotten passion project, your mental lens shifts dramatically. Your energy gets funneled into momentum rather than melancholy. Take, for instance, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most iconic and relentlessly driven football players of our time. His journey from a modest upbringing in Madeira, Portugal to global superstardom wasn't paved with ease. Ronaldo has openly spoken about the pressure, criticism, and doubt he's faced throughout his career, from being overshadowed early on by more established players to the endless scrutiny surrounding his transfers, form, and even personal life. Yet what sets him apart isn't just raw talent, it's his ability to channel mental energy toward clear, ambitious goals. Instead of letting negative thoughts linger, he transformed every setback into fuel. "Your love makes me strong, your hate makes me unstoppable," he once declared. Whether through intense training routines, setting record-breaking targets, or simply visualizing success before stepping onto the pitch, Ronaldo proves that a mind driven by purpose leaves little room for doubt to settle. This principle applies to all of us, not just world-class athletes. Our version of winning the Ballon d'Or might be learning a new language, launching a business, or deepening our relationships. It doesn't need flashing lights or roaring stadiums, just meaningful goals that challenge us and bring joy. Intrusive thoughts thrive when our minds are underoccupied, so it's vital to set cognitive traps for them filled not with fear, but with excitement and curiosity. Develop a habit of asking yourself each morning, what am I building today? You'd be amazed at how quickly your brain gets to work crafting ideas, making plans, and most importantly, sidelining those mental saboteurs. Each step you take toward a goal becomes a psychological declaration. I choose growth over stagnation. Hobbies and passions matter here too. Ever notice how time flies when you're truly engaged? That's called flow, a mental state where you're fully immersed in an activity and lose track of your worries. Whether it's sketching, playing piano, planting herbs, or exploring ancient mythologies, these pursuits aren't just nice to haves. They're lifelines. They anchor us to the present and provide relief from the weight of repetitive thoughts. Even something as simple as tracking small wins, writing them down, or sharing them with a friend creates a cascade of dopamine that counteracts negativity. The mind, after all, is a pattern-hungry machine. The more you feed it with affirming patterns, the less it hungers for chaos. So flip the script. Don't battle thoughts in a vacuum, crowd them out with purpose. Like Ronaldo training through storms of criticism, prove to your mind that it has more important things to focus on than its own fears. The journey isn't about perfection, it's about direction. And once you find yours, those bad thoughts lose their seat at the table. And with that, your vibrant and empowering mental health guide is complete. If you'd like, I can compile all 3 paragraphs into one beautifully formatted page, or help turn it into a motivational blog post or visual. Peace. Shall we level it up further?